Hi, grade 12 physical science student. Welcome again on this video, where guys will be looking at organic molecules. And now we're going to start by focusing also, we're going to focus on this topic, we're going to focus guys on hydrocarbons and the three different types of hydrocarbons that are mainly going to be assessed on your examination, which will be alkanes and alkenes and alkynes. So we're going to just focus on how to give the names of the basic hydrocarbons. So that's what we're going to focus on. Now let's get into it. Now before maybe we can get into the topic, you remember that guys, in the previous video we did look at how to define or what is the organic chemistry on this topic. So now we have said that, you remember that on the previous video we said that organic chemistry is now commonly known as the chemistry of what? Of carbon compounds. So that is the broadly name now definition for organic chemistry. So now let's look at the organic molecules. Now, what are organic molecules? So as we've already defined this as the chemistry of what? Of carbon compounds. So organic molecules, therefore, we can also maybe also define it as this going to be the molecules that consist more of what? Of carbon. Or we can just simply say that organic molecules basically will be also what? The carbon molecules. But in this case, we're going to have also include hydrogen. So now, in this, now let's look at the definition of organic compounds, since we've said this is the chemistry of organic compounds. So what are organic compounds? Now, organic compounds, as you can see here, contain carbon and hydrogen atoms. So organic compounds are made up a compound that are consist of carbon and hydrogen atoms. And this is not conclusive, therefore. And you remember that carbon, it also has other partners, which we have already mentioned, hydrogen. There are other ones which are called what? Oxygen, and we also talk of halogens. So all of these, they give us what? Organic compounds. They give us organic compounds. So this definition, it is broad, guys. It is not conclusive to only carbon and hydrogen for organic compounds. So now, these compounds, therefore, if we proceed, these compounds can be in the gaseous, liquid, or they can be also in the solid phase. So those are the three phases that we use of matter. So now it can be in the gas and in the gas phase, liquid phase, and also solid. So these organic compounds. So now we're going to start with the first group of organic compounds, which is called right there on the screen, as you can see. And this one are called what? Hydrocarbons. I'm going to try to bring the screen closer so that we can maybe see properly. And yeah, now let's see. Yes, now we are okay. Now let's look at this. Now we want to start with the first group of organic compounds, which is called what? Hydrocarbons. So what are hydrocarbons therefore? We can define hydrocarbons as we can define them as compounds that contains only, this word is key on hydrocarbons. As you can see, the word hydrocarbon, it's made up of two weights. Let me just remove this one just to indicate the weight. So it's made up of two weights. It's made up of hydro. The weight hydro is for hydrogen. Yes, the weight hydro is for hydro. It's coming from hydrogen. And the other weight that we can also spot here, it is what? It is carbon. So the weight also carbon, then this weight, therefore you can see that this weight, it also tell us here, we also have what? A atom, which is what? Is carbon. Yeah. So hydrocarbon, it is a joint weight of hydrogen and carbon. So basically on this hydrocarbon, it's only a compounds, meaning the group of compounds which are made up of only carbon and hydrogen atoms. So now we want to focus on that. Therefore, now these compounds can be saturated. And then what we mean by saturated, it means that these compounds, they have only single bonds between what? Between carbon to carbon. Let me just maybe put it there So that's what is very key. This weight is very key. So now saturated hydrocarbons, between carbon to carbon, there is only one bond there, a single bond. If it's like this, between carbon to carbon, in all the structure of that we're going to have, and there's only single bonds between carbon to carbon, then we can say that compound, they are saturated. So I'm just repeating that. Now we also have hydrocarbons which are unsaturated. So now what do we mean by unsaturated? By unsaturated, therefore, we mean that these hydrocarbons contains, or they have between their bonds, therefore, there is double bond, and there's also a triple bond. So now these ones, we can say between carbon to carbon, once there is a double bond, a triple bond, in these hydrocarbons, therefore, we can say they are unsaturated. So now, how do we see that? Between carbon to carbon is a double bond. At least one, if there's one existence of double bond, therefore the compound would be unsaturated. Or it can be also be something like this. Between carbon to carbon, there is a triple bond. There's an existence of a triple bond between carbon to carbon. Then those hydrocarbons, you can say they are unsaturated. Now, we need to also know how to define saturated compounds or hydrocarbons. How do we define saturated hydrocarbons? Now, a compound in which all the bond between carbon atoms are single bonds. So that's how we define unsaturated hydrocarbons. That's how we define. Saturated. That's how we define saturated hydrocarbons. We define them like that. Now, what are unsaturated hydrocarbons? Therefore, then we define them as compounds in which there is at least one double bond or triple bond between carbon atoms. So that's how we define unsaturated. As I've already mentioned, I've shown you the diagram here at the top. This one, they are unsaturated because of these double bonds and triple bonds between carbon to carbon. So that's how we define unsaturated hydrocarbons. Now let's get into the groups of these hydrocarbons. Now I want to also maybe explain something here. So we have hydrocarbons. Yes, I'm just going to summarize this. So we have two types of groups of hydrocarbons. The first group of hydrocarbons, it is called, maybe I'll write it here, it's called aliphatic. The first group of hydrocarbons. Don't worry much about this. I'm just giving that information, but we don't have to worry about it. We won't be asked about any explanation about this, but it's information that maybe we might find it useful later on. And also the next group of hydrocarbon is called aromatic. So usually aromatic, these one are hydrocarbons that consist of are made up of cyclic. They are more of a cycle. Most of them, they are cyclic. They are cyclic hydrocarbons. So in their nature, okay, they are cyclic. Their structures are cyclic. Okay, and also this one, aliphatic. This one are hydrocarbons which forms what straight chain. They have their chain straight most, but it's not conclusive. We also have also aliphatic, which are cyclic, and then like I'm going to show you. But this one aromatic, they are strictly cyclic. That means they are more of the form chain that are cyclic, that a form chain that are cyclic, not a cyclic. So we have these two. So, but our main focus on this topic, guys, is going to be more on aliphatic. Hydrocarbons, which are these ones that form that more straight chain. That's where we're going to focus. We're going to focus on the straight chains, not the one that forms cyclic. So for examination. So now, these are the one that we're talking about. So this one here, this group of hydrocarbon are called aliphatic, but don't worry about the weight. So in these hydrocarbons, this one are called aliphatic. So therefore, we have, let me just put the weight here, aliphatic. Yeah, so these are aliphatic hydrocarbons. So now, we have two groups of them. We have saturated, and we have already mentioned what saturated does mean and what unsaturated does mean. Now we're going to continue now. So unsaturated, we have these two groups, which are called what? Are called alkanes and cycloalkanes. This one are also cyclic. This one, they are forming a chain that are cycle around. So now we also have the unsaturated ones, aliphatic unsaturated. Therefore, the one that unsaturated, they are called what? They are called alkenes. Have E here compared to this one here. This one alkenes, this one alkenes. So then the one that have, so this one have single bond, as we've said, they're unsaturated. This one that means have a double bond. So this one, the one and the one that have a double bond between carbon to carbon. This one between carbon to carbon, there's only a single bond. Alkanes. Then, but alkynes, these are this hydrocarbon that carries a triple bond between carbon to carbon. And also we have also the cyclo, the way that's from cyclic, therefore we have also cycloalkenes and also alkyne. So this one, they are chains, they have double bond, a triple bond, but they are forming a second, a chain upon, they form a second. So we're not going to be focusing on this one. And cycloalkenes, they are not going to be assessed for grade 12. So now the one that we want to focus on are the one that are single bond, double bond, and triple bond.